institutions charged with this responsibility need to be strengthened, not weakened. But even with the success we have made, we cannot as yet celebrate. The challenge is still with us and required more concerted efforts to eliminate it. Honorable members, Kenyans have spoken loudly and challenged us as leaders to do all that it takes to eradicate this cancer. This they did during the National Anti-Corruption Conference held in January of this year, where they tasked me, the Speakers of Parliament, the Chief Justice, and the Council of Governors to commit to various demands that would entrench and widen the fight against corruption. Mindful of my cardinal responsibility, which is to serve Kenyans, as bestowed upon me by the Constitution, my administration has opted for an all-out assault on corruption. In this endeavor, and in pursuit of this noble goal, my administration has continued to strengthen the investigative, law enforcement, and prosecutorial functions of government and embrace the multi-agency approach to encourage joint intelligence sharing, investigation, and prosecution. And these measures have already reaped visible benefits. Honorable members, it is not enough to merely jail and fine those who have looted from our public coffers. The wealth stolen from Kenyans must be returned to its owners, the people of Kenya, with a clear message being that corruption does not pay. In this context, that we have entrusted into the asset recovery agreements, we have entered into asset recovery agreements with foreign countries in pursuit of a robust restitution strategy. In the reporting period, the Asset Recovery Agency has investigated 20 cases and preserved assets worth 1.1 billion. Assets worth Kenya shillings 72 million were forfeited to the government, and further recovery proceedings on corruptly acquired property valued at Kenya shillings 7.5 billion were instituted. Additionally, assets worth Kenya shillings 2.5 billion were recovered, while bank accounts holding Kenya shillings 264 million were frozen pending determination of recovery proceedings. We have also introduced new accountability measures applicable at all stages of the public finance management cycle as a critical prevention strategy. Honorable Speakers, honorable members, we must accept the truth. That is, one or two branches of government cannot hope to resolve this problem on their own. And that is why we look up to the judiciary to do their part, to apply the law firmly and fairly, and for Parliament to uphold high standards, mindful of the strategic interests of the nation in the exercise of their legislative and oversight mandate. We need to ensure that corruption cases are heard and determined on a priority basis. Kenyans are waiting to see more convictions and far less cynical exploitation of court processes to protect a few. Indeed, I particularly urge the judiciary not to appear to protect their own or to allow the abuse of privilege in the case where their officials are suspected of or have been under active investigation for corruption. In saying this, Honorable Chief Justice, I do not for 1 minute presume to direct the judiciary or Parliament. That is certainly not my constitutional place. But it is indeed my duty as the head of state to remind every arm of government of their solemn duty and the high expectations of Kenyans as espoused in our national values. Mr. Speaker, I also urge the county governments to work with the national government in this most important task of moral reawakening. Equally important, I urge every public and private institution in Kenya to join us in waging this war against corruption and economic crimes. If you love your country, you should reject corruption and all those who steal the sweat of your countrymen. This, honorable members, is one war I am certain we shall win. Honorable members, I must say that I've been under pressure that who am I sacking? But no. But I must, however, caution that the pursuit of the corrupt will be undertaken strictly within the remits of the law. It will not be done through vigilante justice and pitchfork protests. Though media narratives rally our resolve as they should, our actions will not be based on condemnation before one has been heard. The cornerstone of our democracy is the rule of law and the principle of due process. And the principle of due process is a critical anchor of that principle. We must aspire abidingly to this ideal and ensure that we do not pursue justice in one area through injustice in another. I remain confident in our investigative and prosecutorial institutions to diligently deliver justice on the strength of the evidence and in fidelity to the law. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as I have said and done before, I once again undertake that anyone whose case goes before court will be removed from government, and any individual will thereafter have to answer his case before a court of law. Once again, Mr. Speaker, I wish to emphasize our place in history and the national endeavor to strengthen rather than weaken our investigating and prosecuting agencies. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, honorable speakers, I have spoken at length on what we have achieved in pursuit of our development agenda.